Hi, my name is Sears. I want to tell you about my life living with a traumatic brain injury. I have to read you my story because since the time of my accident, I have very short-term memory. It's hard for me to speak it clearly without going all over the place. But this is my story. It was July 9th, 1987, and it was a beautiful Connecticut summer afternoon. I was out riding my motorcycle. I had just turned 20, and I had a lot going for me. I was making a very good life for myself. I had a great family, I had a good job in construction, and also as a part-time mechanic. I was making good money for a kid my age. I had a great social life, lots of friends, and I was very popular. I had a great girlfriend, I had 2 cars, a motorcycle, and lived in a nice condo right on the water. I was living what I call the American dream. Life was great. And in a heartbeat, it was all gone. Suddenly, I came up over a hill and there was a car going the wrong way. It was too late, I couldn't stop, and we collided. I was thrown nearly 40 feet into oncoming traffic. I landed headfirst into a curb, just missing a telephone pole. I have no memory of the next 6 months. That period of time is like a black hole in my life. I was in and out of a coma undergoing multiple surgeries. The doctors operated on my head and did what they could to patch my body. This was the beginning of my physical recovery. Though my body was healing, a bigger problem went untreated and no one realized it. Insult was added to injury. This is where I fell through the cracks. Despite having my head in a cast, no one identified the true nature of my injury as being a traumatic brain injury. That oversight would cost me dearly in the years to come. I had no idea of the hell I was in for. Had I known what lay ahead, I never would have fought so damn hard to make it. I would have given up, lied down, and died. My struggles were constant. I had to relearn everything: how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to use the bathroom, how to care for myself. And then there was the never-ending pain. The physical pain of my body overcoming weakness and injury. Worse yet, there was the pain of not knowing who I was. Things went from bad to worse. Soon the treatment center I was in transferred me to a mental health ward. I spent the next 9 months locked in against my will, slowly regaining my memory in a growing sense that this type of life wasn't for me. I was angry, I wanted out, I began calling out to anyone who would listen to me. Town officials, state government, anyone who can get me out. While I knew I didn't need to be there, I did know that I needed help in other areas, but the help I needed wasn't available. This was not a mental health illness. Eventually, a sympathetic ear at the Connecticut governor's office helped arrange a meeting between my family, my doctors, and a state representative. I told them all. I wanted out, I needed out, and it was clear to them that I was right, but where was I to go? I had only one real option, and that was my family. Yet I didn't want to be a burden to my parents. I applied for Section 8 disability housing and was put on a waiting list. I was turned down repeatedly. So in the meantime, my family helped me get into my own one-room efficiency apartment. While a big step up from the psychiatric ward, this too was far from ideal. I now found myself living alone except for the roaches and the rats in a vulnerable area known for drug dealers and prostitutes. I would wander those mean streets trying to regain some kind of memory. I would watch other people to see what they were doing, how they were acting, in order to regain anything I knew how to do before the accident. All I could figure out at this time was this was not who I was. With time and my family's help, things began to improve for me. My mother got me a weight set, my father bought me a bicycle, and I started volunteering at a local hospital. That gave me access to their physical therapy rooms. I learned what they were doing for rehabilitation and go back home at night to do the exercise on my own in order to regain my strength and abilities. But without any medical oversight, I'd overdo it. I hurt myself repeatedly. Many times my mother had to take me to the hospital because I hurt so bad I couldn't walk or move. Socially, things were awkward. One day after volunteering, I was leaving the hospital. I saw a lady fall to the floor. My instincts were to grab a wheelchair, put her in it, and run to the emergency department. I thought I was doing the right thing, but in reality, my actions upset the emergency staff, and the next day, the hospital called and asked me not to return. I was crushed. One of the lasting conditions of my TBI was and is that I slur my words when I speak. My balance is off when I walk. Instead of realizing that this is how I am, people just assume that I'm drinking or using drugs. No one takes me seriously. It becomes harder and harder to find where I fit in. With with the help of my family, I moved in and out of different apartments, but the pieces of my mind and my life didn't fit quite right. I get restless and depressed. I struggled to cope. I turned to what I had seen so many people do on the streets: alcohol and drugs. Thought I, I thought it would help me forget all that I'd gone through, but in reality, it sure the hell didn't. Alcohol and drugs, regardless if you got a brain injury or not, believe me, I don't suggest it, especially if you got a brain injury. They don't work. Soon, everything I fought for, I now started to lose. It was all slipping away. I found myself alone and getting into trouble more often, ending up in shelters, local lockups, and numerous mental health facilities all over the state because there was no help for traumatic brain injury survivors. I continued to spiral down, and soon I wound up homeless, and not long after that in prison. The police, the court, the judge, and the law didn't know, care, or consider traumatic brain injury, or the fact that I had one. And once behind bars, neither did the warden. I served 5 years for what other people would have slept up overnight in a local lockup and then clear up with a brief court appearance. Instead, I ended up in a level 4 high-security prison surrounded by gang members, rapists, killers, and child molesters. I was locked in an 8 by 10 cell 24 hours a day with a vicious inmate next to me. While behind bars, I received absolutely no help for my disabilities. There was no time off for early release or time off for good behavior for my sentence, TBI or not. I served every measure of that sentence to the fullest. I suffered tremendously, and let me tell you, it was hell. Look, I'm not saying that somebody with a traumatic brain injury should get out of jail car free, or you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, I am saying that when somebody has a brain injury and they get arrested for basically a trespassing charge, and they're on probation for a trespassing charge, you don't throw that person in a maximum security prison because you don't want to help them. You give them help. You try to lead them back to the right direction. Somehow I survived to be released in 2003, and again I needed a place to call home. After nearly 20 years of waiting and being turned down, I turned to a local congressman's office for help. Within 2 months, they cut through the red tape, and I finally received recognition of my TBI, and I was accepted into a HUD-subsidized housing unit. Life, though, continues to be a struggle. I have no friends, I have no money, I have few options and fewer choices. I am very uncertain of my future. I still want the American dream, but it feels further away than ever. I want to be hopeful, but I know all too well how quickly good can go bad in life. But I try my best to help those with TBI get the help we need and to avoid the mistakes and the missteps that I've made. Please use my story and my experiences to help somebody else to avoid those mistakes and missteps. And please tell anybody about this, because this is something that can help a lot of people from making all those mistakes and missteps.